And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Okay, tonight's weather showing this slowly weakening front with a band of light rain, fog, and drizzle from the Alaska Peninsula up to St. Matthew Island and around the Pribilofs. Otherwise, a lot of low clouds, fog with scattered showers over the Bering Sea there with that low farther to the southwest. High pressure, dry conditions over the interior with light winds. Areas of light rain there moving from west to east along the Arctic coast. And an area of showers increasing and developing with thunderstorms here, slowly pulling westward, beginning to increase over the southeastern and eastern Copper River Basin later tonight. And then tomorrow, looks like scattered thunderstorms across the Copper River Basin, eastern Alaska Range, and slowly pulling westward, starting to develop over the possibly the Chugach, Talkeetna Mountains by late tomorrow afternoon and evening, with general increase in the cloudiness here for south central Alaska. Sunshine to the west and to the north, and still a little unsettled there for the Arctic coast, but basically dry for the Panhandle. Not much change out over the Bering Sea through Tuesday as low pressure remains out over the west and southwest Bering with storm-free conditions and light winds off to the west and north into the interior. Mostly sunny, partly to mostly sunny here in the south, mostly sunny in the central and northern part of the state. Risk of an isolated thunderstorm in the afternoon over the mountainous terrain, mainly in the south. It looks like cloudy with showers over the Panhandle. Coastal water forecast for the outer coastline there for the central and south coast. West winds at 10 knots, south to southwest at 10 knots for the north coast. Northwest at 10 for Clarence Strait, and southerly winds 15 knots for Stevens Passage and Lynn Canal. And then increase in the winds for Lynn Canal on Tuesday, south 25 gusting 40 knots. Otherwise, Stevens Passage, south 20 knots and gusty with south winds at 15 knots for Clarence Strait. Out along the south coast, west-southwesterlies at 10 to 15 knots. North coast, west winds 20 knots, seas 6 feet. And for Prince William Sound, southeasterlies at 10 knots for the day Monday. North Gulf Coast, variable at 10. Variable winds 20 knots for southern Cook Inlet and Kamishak Bay, and 15 knots for northern Cook Inlet. Barren Islands, south at 15 knots. And for the day on Tuesday, Barren Islands, North Gulf Coast, west winds 20 to 25 knots. West at 10 for Prince William Sound. The southwest breeze at 10 knots for Cook Inlet, and southwest at 20 for Kamishak Bay. Kodiak Island, variable winds 20 knots Monday, and east-southeast 15 to 20 knots for the Alaska Peninsula. Bristol Bay, winds light from the south at 10 knots. Those will become west at 15 knots for the bay on Tuesday. Sea staying pretty low though at around 1 foot. Light variable winds for the Alaska Peninsula. Kodiak Island, west-southwesterlies at 20 to 25 knots. Eastern Aleutians, south to southeast winds 10 to 15 knots. And for Monday, Adak and Atka, south at 15, and west to southwesterlies at 15 knots for the western Aleutians. Then on Tuesday, southwest 15 to 20 knots here west of Adak. For Adak and Atka, southeast at 20 knots. Eastern Aleutians, southeast winds 15 knots with 2 to 5 foot seas. Southwest coast, northeast to east winds at 10 knots. Northeast at 15, Norton Sound, St. Lawrence Island. Northern Bering Sea here, easterlies at about 20 knots, and then down around the Pribilofs, southeast at 15 knots. Outlook for Tuesday, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots to the Pribilofs, St. Matthew Island. West-southwest at 10 for the southwest coast. Northeast at 20 knots there for Norton Sound. And for the central and eastern Beaufort Sea coast on Monday, tomorrow, east winds 10 to 15 knots. Western Arctic coast, west winds at 20 knots and 15 to 25 knot winds from the south for the Chukchi Sea. And then for Tuesday, kind of a variable wind pattern here for the Chukchi Sea, anywhere from 5 to 10 knots. Western Arctic coast, south winds at 20 knots. South 15 on the central coast, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, east-southeast winds 15 to 20 knots.